Welcome to the Soul Seed podcast, where soul meets strategy. Every week, I, your host, Sabrina Greer, have activated conversations with multi-passionate, soul-led thought leaders about their journey of growth from seed to soul's purpose. Every successful book, brand, business, podcast, product, or program starts as a seed, an idea planted into the soul of its creator. Be inspired by those who've led before us, 6, 7, 8-figure entrepreneurs, best-selling authors, top-rated podcasters, and multifaceted humans. Be empowered by their humble beginnings and expanded by their tenacity and spirit. Join us in the frequency of abundance as we go to the story roots of these powerhouses. Learn how to apply and leverage the Soul Seed method in the creation of your very own legacy. Let's go. Hello, and welcome back to Soul Seed, the podcast. I am super excited for this special edition episode today. It is launch day for our author, Bodurka, and I'm so excited to introduce you to this wonderful human. So I'm going to do the bio version first, and then we'll do a non-bio version from the author herself. But for now, in addition to an MBA, Monica is the co-founder of the Leadership Wellness Group, where she provides workshops and coaching for both individuals and organizations. She is also an Integrative Nutrition Health Coach, a certified international health coach, a yoga educator, and a yoga therapist. Monica has several mindfulness meditation certificates, a diploma in adult education, and understands the fundamentals of how adults learn and the neuroscience of behavior change. I love it. You're just like so multifaceted and multi-talented. That's what I love so much about everyone on this show is we get to be all of the things, and that's okay. Yeah, we get to be multi-passionate. We get to be multifaceted. That's what I think truly, that's what the soul seed is, right? It grows and it expands and it becomes multi-branches or multi-roots, right? That's sort of the vision for this whole show. So welcome, Monica. I'm so excited for your book. Okay, so give us a non-bio version. Tell us a bit about yourself off the record.
Oh my goodness, it's off the record. Well, to add to that list, I now can add author, which is really exciting. My background, I actually came from the world of executive education, and I worked at the University of Toronto for many years. That's when I realized that not only myself, I was struggling with being a mom and having 2 children and having a management job, but all these leaders we were training, so many of them were struggling. They were burning out, and we see this still, overwhelmed, burned, anxious, on the hamster wheel. And it was really interesting because at the same time I was involved in all these focus groups on what are the leadership capabilities that leaders need in the 21st century, and 2 kept coming up. One of them was resilience, and the other one was humility. And we all looked at each other and said, how do we teach that? I was just like, oh my God, I want to know that. I was always interested in holistic health and wellness and yoga and spirituality. And basically, I stepped away from my job and just dove into the content and started my company. And of course, there were lots of hiccups along the way where I realized, okay, I need to embody this. And that's what leads me to this book and leads me to the courses I teach, because it's not just knowing the content. You actually have to rewire your brain to become a new person, which is that resilient person who's happy, healthy, and centered when there's chaos around you. So
I love that. I love that so much. So A New Way to Be, the name of the book, and it's all about resilience. So can you tell us a little bit about, I mean, you just did in a roundabout way, but can you tell us what sort of inspired the book itself, not just your business and what you teach, but like publishing a book and putting this book out into the world?
It was kind of on my bucket list to write a book. I mean, for as long as I can remember, I had like, write a book, have a garden, teach yoga. And then I had these programs, and to create the programs, I had to do a lot of research, and I actually created scripts. I didn't have the structure. I had no idea how to do it. And I was working with Leanne Kim. She was my business coach. During one session, she pulled out her book, and it was her proof book, and she held it up to me and said, oh my God, I got my proof book today. And literally I got goosebumps. And I was like, Leanne, how did you do it? Because again, it seemed this overwhelming task. How do you find a publisher? Where do you start? Or do you self-publish? She was just like, talk to Sabrina. That's how it really started. And I couldn't have done it otherwise, because it feels overwhelming, and having your team to kind of hold my hand and keep me accountable has been huge. So thank you.
I didn't even know that. I knew Leanne was the person who referred you. I didn't know that story though. I love that. If you don't know, Leanne Kim published Building a Joyful Business a couple of years ago. I'll post the link to her book in the show notes as well. But such a cool series of events. I love that. And it's so true. That's exactly why why I created my business was to support incredible entrepreneurs like yourself in helping them get their story, get their intellectual property, get their data, get their research, get their soul's work to book form to the market. Because that's so important, right? Now, for anyone who doesn't know, now you legally own the copyright to all of these theories. So people can't take that and run with it as their own, which happens with so many coaches, right? They put their soul's work out into the world in the form of an ebook or a website or a program or a course, and then people take it and modify it and make it their own, which now they can't do that. So congratulations.
We realize that. Okay, another bonus. So that's amazing.
It's so important. And I just love this book. It's an easy read. It's powerful. It's comprehensive. It has all of the tools. And it's just, yeah, I can't wait for everyone to read it. This podcast is going to be published on launch day, which is super exciting. So how can you support this incredible author, first-time author, in becoming an Amazon bestseller? Because that's really what the focus of today is. So I'm going to link everything in the show notes. So you need to go and get your copy on Amazon today, because obviously that's the number one way to help, is to buy your copy or multiple copies, because everyone in your life needs this book for sure. And you can leave a rating and a review. Monica's going to do a reading in a moment, so it feels authentic when you leave your review. You can get a little feel of the vibe of the book. Of course, if you want to wait until you get your copy and leave a review later, that's totally okay as well. Then just share the link to this podcast, share on social media, share with somebody who you know in your life needs this book in their world, and just keep sharing. And that's how you can support. So all the love to Monica today. Can you tell us just a little bit about the emotions, the experience? Obviously, it's a journey. It's not like you snapped your fingers and all of a sudden you were a published author. What was it like? What was the journey like from that moment where Leanne held up her book to right now being a published author, launching your book, putting it out in the world?
What was the journey? Oh, that's a great question. Do you know what? The journey, like anything, was up and down. There was a point at which I had to stop. I think 3 months. I was like, oh my God. So the journey was, at times it was amazing, and I could pull my information. And one of the things I found really interesting, I was at first uncomfortable. I wasn't used to writing. I was used to business writing. So I wasn't used to writing my story and from my perspective. I didn't know how I would do that. And I actually found that to be the most interesting and enjoyable, because I would just sit down and it would come to me. And I loved that. I also love that you guys had editors to be like, oh, okay, maybe not so much. And yeah, maybe. So that was really great. There was times where, I think you said this, and with your first draft, it doesn't have to be perfect. You actually said, and I hope this is fine to say, you said, just get in a shitty first draft. That was permission for me as a perfectionist to just get it done. That's what I needed. And that's what I wouldn't have been able to do on my own, because I would have tried to make it perfect, which means I would have never gotten it done. So that was great. Taking a little break from it and then rereading it and saying, oh, actually, this is okay. So the journey's, it's been great. It's been a good journey, but definitely it's a path.
Absolutely. I think that's the response always, is it's very much like being an entrepreneur. It takes a lot of effort and energy and time, and then all of a sudden it's here and it's like, congratulations. People don't see what's below the iceberg. They just see this like shiny new book, this shiny new smiling author, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of your soul goes into making this happen. So congratulations.
Thank you. I was just going to say, what I also really appreciate, and I don't know if you're doing it anymore, is you had the accountability calls. And I found, especially in the beginning, it was really important for me, and being able to connect with other authors as well, hearing that they're going through the same things. So that was really helpful.
I totally agree. Having those accountability calls and I see lifelong friendships. There's so much power in numbers and having people that are your cheerleaders. It's not just accountability. That helps too, right? Knowing that you are accountable to someone other than yourself. Because if we always just had to simply motivate ourselves to do things, like that's what I find with most of our authors is, I've got to clean the fridge. I've got to do this. I got to drive my kids here. There's always something more important than writing your book, especially when you're an entrepreneur, because there's actual income producing things that are happening in real time when you're a business owner, or when you're a parent, there's things happening in real time as well. So I find those accountability groups imperative to the process, because you're accountable to somebody else. It gives you that time. If nothing else, if you have no other time to write, it gives you those 2 hours a week to do it, right? So I totally agree. I love seeing the cheerleading squad that you have from that community, which is so powerful and so potent. So would you do us the honor of reading something from A New Way to Be?
Sure. I was thinking that the book, and I was toying with calling it Resilience, because many people think resilience is bouncing back from an adverse event. I'm just setting the context here. But when we're living in a chaotic, competitive, 24/7, really tumultuous world, it's not one adverse event that's going to happen, right? We have to become centered, and we have to build within ourselves an ability to handle all the multiple stressors with grace and ease. So it's not, again, it's not like the Webster Dictionary, oh, the ability to bounce back. I'm like, no, we'd be bouncing the whole time. So it's not that. So what I've chosen to read to you today is just from chapter 1, which is called A Fresh Take on Resilience. And I start with a quote from Jon Kabat-Zinn, which is, you can't stop the waves, the stressors, but you can learn to surf. So really, this is about learning how to surf. I used to not like the word resilience. It sounded to me like being gritty or a grinding toughness that I did not resonate with. I am a Pisces after all, and apparently because of the position of the sun on the day I was born, I am soft-natured, not tough. I now teach how to cultivate resilience in self and others, and amazed how often people also think resilient means brutal hardness. In fact, at one workshop, a participant got up and shared his perspective. He said, resilience is about being able to take the hits in life and still remain standing. He then quoted Rocky, Sylvester Stallone's character from the movie Rocky Balboa. He said, you, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life, but it ain't how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. I couldn't stop him from reciting the full quote. Clearly, he was inspired, but also looked worn and desperate. I shared that unfortunately, his definition is what leads to burnout and is not resilience. Is that enough, or I can keep going?
I love it so much because, for obvious reasons, I love this book, but I think it's so important because that's what I've always heard and thought of as resilience too. I'm glad you called the book A New Way to Be, because it's really what it's about, but becoming and understanding a different way, right? And I think that's so important. That's so beautiful. So everyone, go get your copy of A New Way to Be on Amazon today.
I love what it looks like. I'm very happy.
So beautiful. I can't wait for everyone to have it in their hands and have it in their hearts. And as you read it, please share your takeaways. There's nothing cooler as an author, hearing the takeaways, hearing your experience as a reader, that it's just such a magical thing. So, and take pictures of yourself holding the book as you get it, and share on social media, and just let's make the impact with this book that it deserves, because that's really what it's all about, is impact. Monica, is there anything else you want to add?
Thank you to you and your team for helping me to realize this dream.
Thank you for putting your soul's work out into the world and being brave and vulnerable and being able to share it. It's not an easy feat. Congratulations on becoming a published author.
Thank you so much.